The next topic is also one that's exciting. So, what we realized last time, and this is something that Jeff and I have talked pretty extensively about, is that doing top tens each in the sake of a podcast is not beneficial time-wise
as
because
as we talked about Space Jam for 30 minutes.
much more beneficial. But as we're thinking about the future of that segment with the lists, we're going to go top five each. And honestly, that's just to save time. Like, there's nothing I enjoy more than reminiscing about the great basketball I was able to watch throughout my middle school and high school years. But that was the vast majority of our episode last episode. Again, no apologies for it because I could talk about it forever and talk about those players forever. But we're going to go top fives moving forward. And today's top five topic is going to be top five high school mixtapes of all time. And this was tough, Jeff. I think that you would agree. Like, there were a lot of good ones out there.
For sure. A lot of good nominees. I mean, you stole a lot of my honorable mentions just because you needed to reshuffle your list.
You start us off. What do you got?
Let's start off local. Shout out Webb Wellman. John Wall's mixtape. I think that is when I think high school basketball mixtape, I think Ball is Life. I think of that mixtape. And yeah, it was amazing. I remember being in middle school at the time, and it was incredible. Loved John Wall. Thought it was amazing.
The Sham God move in that one is nuts.
The blocks are
The
crazy.
lefty dunk,
Just
like,
the power, the speed, all of it
yes,
is just
just unbelievable.
insane.
And shout out to Webb also because he really was kind of the godfather of this.
Yes.
I think that when you start thinking about the culture and the benefit of media following star players and being connected to them, Webb has played a tremendous role in that. And I think that, I'm sure that John Wall on multiple occasions has talked about the benefit of Webb's mixtapes in that way and how it propelled him to being the number one overall player in that class. So I love that one. I'm going to go with Akil Carr.
Crime Stopper.
It's the best nickname in high school sports because it's true. So literally so many people being in his gym in Baltimore that crime literally stopped in the city. Talk about the handle, talk about the explosiveness. There's something about like a 5'7" guard that you just can't stay in front of. Like, how do you scheme for that? It opens up so many possibilities. But he was tremendous. So big shout out to that one for sure.
Yeah, Akil was amazing. He was one of my guys as well. Then I don't know if there was even a better mixtape other than if I didn't have John Wall on here, Zion Williamson might be the best mixtape that there's ever been. And it still might, but the just maybe I guess because the nostalgia of the John Wall one seeps in, but
Right.
Zion having been there for it, it was incredible. And the mixtape, it's accurate. It's accurate to what he was doing every single night, and it was he the biggest, most explosive freak athlete I think I've ever seen. Incredible. I wish he could stay healthy and get
Right.
his habit right.
It's one thing for him to have highlights on his dunks. I would love to see just a highlight tape of his blocks.
Yeah,
Like, have you seen the comedian who says that Zion Williamson is guilty of reverse racism for how dominant he was in high school? Absolutely perfect. It's perfectly summarized, but no, he's a killer. Um, Mac McClung, like, this was a tough one for me because I was definitely going to include one where there was someone with an elite dunk package. I just don't think that you can get more diversity with his dunks and more creativity with his dunks than Mac in game. I mean, to be a 6'2" white guy, to be East Baying in games, to be catching tip slams on top of people's heads, and now to be, that transcending into being a multi-time NBA dunk contest champion. It's awesome. That was one that was right there at the top of the list for me.
yeah. I know Mac was crazy in high school. The dunks every night. I mean, they were shutting down the city, Gate City, a
Yeah.
small town, really. Um, my third one is Marcus Levette. Craziest handle, slip
Yes.
ball, and I mean, ball handler just gets wherever he wants. Pace is crazy. His mix is amazing because it's as if he's just going at you a million miles an hour, and he's so under control. Just incredible.
I think that there's something to be said too about him being left-handed. Like it honestly makes it look even better that his handle is just that shifty, like sort of Nick Van Exel vibes, if you will. But his was just tremendous. My next one's Aaron Gordon from Vision Balls.
Nice.
VB, like that one, I'm telling you, man, there's his he was one of those players where you really couldn't have told me he wouldn't be an NBA superstar. Like when you watch his film, the explosiveness off 1 foot, 2 feet, the blocks, the anticipation, the aggression, and then now to kind of morph his game into being someone who's more of a three, can be a 3-point shooter. Um, like it's pretty remarkable how that goes in the NBA, but in high school, I mean, no one was doing anything with him. He was a man child.
I mean, he might have been like Zion before Zion. I mean, I love what he's become in the NBA. Even still, if he's not a superstar, he's still an incredibly useful piece.
For sure.
My next one, I would have uh, Andrew Wiggins. Uh, what do they call him? Air
Oh,
Canada. They called him Maple Jordan or whatever. It was
such a
ridiculous.
good one.
There was so much hype around Andrew Wiggins. I don't know how many players there's been that much hype around since him before he went to Kansas and then was inevitably the number one pick. But he was remarkable. The athleticism, explosiveness, it was incredible.
The highlight of him where he like does the spin move and then goes up and like both of his entire arms are above the rim for the dunk. Like he was ridiculous, man. I mean, again, like couldn't have told me he wouldn't have been a superstar like the way that he is. And that's not to say he hasn't had a tremendous career, but man, he was impressive in high school. I think my next two will surprise you. I made one, excuse me, edit. And I'm not going to shout out the John Wall one because you have already done that. My next one is Gabe York,
Nice.
shooting guard at Arizona. Ended up being there for multiple years. I think being a double-digit scorer for a few years out there. When he was at Orange Lutheran in California, the specific highlight people should remember is when he catches the one-handed alley-oop on top of someone's head. Uh, Gabe was like it's just an incredible athlete, great shooter, really came on strong his junior and senior year of high school. But his mixtape is something serious. That was at a point, Jeff, where like the dudes from California were kind of killing the mixtape game. Like whether it was him, Aaron Gordon, who we already mentioned, Stanley Robinson was one that was out there. Like the competition that was in that part of the country was really, really elite, and he was one of the top dogs. There's no question about it.
Yeah, no, no, totally agree. Rounding out my list, I have Harry Giles, kind of going on that same ilk of man. He was incredible, had the full package, power, finesse, everything. He could play on the block, he could play around the perimeter, he could play in the mid post. The one of the most talented players I think I've ever seen. And even though he was still had a great career and had overseas contracts and NBA contracts. It's you can go back and watch and think about what could have been.
Right. I mean, just hearing and seeing the battles of him versus Thon Maker at the wall, like maybe the best head-to-head matchup in the country that year. Absolutely tremendous. Really cool to see him holding it down for the hoop state and still giving back because he's around. My
Absolutely.
last one, I made an edit, and again, mine are not like 1 through 5. So please, if you're listening, do not see this as like, well, George said this is the best high school mixtape. No, like this is one of the best. There are many that will not be named that are great. Austin Rivers is great. I had Vince Carter on my honorable mention, and I think that one is one that if you haven't seen high school highlights, holy crap. Like it is as advertised. But the one that I think is kind of slept on is Julius Randle. Down in Texas, the Texas Titans, I think it was Crestwood Academy, if I'm not mistaken. Him and Mikey Mitchell and just a bunch of Division I guys beating up on what inevitably were smaller opponents. But he was also kind of like a Zion before Zion, like really good ball skills, left-handed power forward, just absolutely stuffing it on people whenever he could. Really impressive mixtape and definitely a staple of that culture growing up.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we have great lists. I'm happy saying mine could be a top five list. I'll say mine was in order.
But you'd go 1 through 5, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that would make sense to me if you went 1 through 5, because then you would have had John, Zion. Who was your third?
Marcus Levet.
Marcus Levet. Okay, okay, okay. That's good. I don't even know how I'd rank my 5. I'll probably come back to it at a different time, but